6-digit conference code. Welcome to free conference calling. The conference has not started. If you are the host, please enter your 4-digit host code to open the conference. We will now connect you to your call. You are the first attendee in this conference. The host has joined the conference.
Good morning. Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters. This is Dr. Umar. We are back with the Black Parent Teleconference every Tuesday. We are no longer on Tuesday. We are now on Sunday. And if you have a question about your child, please grab an ink pen. If you're watching on Instagram, or a pencil, or the notepad on your cell phone, I'm going to give you the number to call in. We do it on Sundays now. Every Sunday morning from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. we conduct a Black Parent Teleconference. So spread the word. Let parents that you know and in your neighborhood, in your city and state and country know that the Black Parent Teleconference is now on Sunday mornings, 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. The phone number, if you have questions about your children, the phone number is 857-232-0158. 857-232-0158. The access code is 870-864-POUND. I repeat, the access code is 870-864-POUND. The number, 857-232-0158. 857-232-0158. And the access code is 870-864-POUND. So, although the call is slated for 2 hours, we go longer when we have more calls than usual, and we go shorter when we have less calls than usual. So with that being said, I'm going to go to the phone in 1 minute. Let me make an adjustment here. Make a little adjustment here. Okay. Do we have a question on the call to get us started this morning? If there's anyone on the line with a question, please state the city that you're calling from, and you can go ahead with your question at this time. Do we have a question on the call this morning? If we don't, I'll wait a few minutes to see if we have any parents call in with questions. I know we have a few people on the line. If you have a question, go ahead and ask your question. While we're waiting to see if there are any questions, and I'll probably give it 15 minutes or so, and then I'll go back to bed if we don't have any questions. But while we're waiting, I will be speaking in New York on Friday, September the 28th in Yonkers. It will not be a full lecture. It is an awards gala, and I have been asked to be the keynote at that awards gala. Tickets are available to the public. You can attend. It is a black tie affair, so I'll be wearing a tuxedo. But if anyone is interested in going to the Yonkers event, Yonkers, New York, if you're interested, you can email me or text me for the flyer. That's Friday, September the 28th. I will be back in New York to keynote the 31st anniversary of the CEMOTAP organization. For those of you who are not familiar with CEMOTAP, CEMOTAP is the Committee for the Elimination of Media that is offensive to African people. A very unique organization, the only one of its kind that I know of. The Committee for the Elimination of Media that is offensive to African people. Their 31st their 31st anniversary will be celebrated on Saturday, October the 20th in Queens, New York. Saturday, October the 20th in Queens, New York, CEMOTAP. I will be there. So Yonkers, September the 28th, in Queens, October the 20th. And then I will be in Birmingham, England, October the 27th. Queens, New York, October the 20th. Birmingham, England, October the 27th. And London, England, November 3rd. So I will be in the UK for a full week. I will be in the UK for a full week. And then we also have, what else coming up? I'll be in the Gambia for the first time in Africa, the nation of Gambia, November the 21st through the 25th. Chattanooga, Tennessee, Dr. King celebration, Chattanooga, Tennessee, January the 18th, I believe. I also have supposed to be in Wilmington, North Carolina. Wilmington, North Carolina, November the 10th in Wilmington, my first time. And then we have Nat Turner Land and the Nat Turner celebration on 11/11, the ancestral remembrance celebration, Nat Turner Land, Virginia. So Wilmington on the 10th, and then Nat Turner on the 11th. So again, if you ever need a list of the upcoming speaking engagements, you can text me or email me for them. Still accepting pre-orders for Black Parent Advocate. I'm still accepting pre-orders for Black Parent Advocate. The new book that I'm finalizing now. Okay, so if you're interested in that, you can text me as well. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Okay, let me go to the phone. Is there a parent with a question on the call this morning?
Yes.
Good morning, sister. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chattanooga, actually.
Calling from Chattanooga, where I'll be in January the 18th for the Dr. King celebration. Good morning to you, Queen, and go right ahead with your question.
My question is related to my son. He's 8 years old, and I feel like I'm doing everything possible to make sure that he is successful. We read, we write, we do spelling words at home. I pack his lunch so that I know what he's eating is healthy. But he goes to school, and he's not performing well at school. He's a very smart boy, but his grades are not reflecting it. So I'm trying to see what can I do to motivate him, because it's not that he doesn't know how to do the work. It's just that he's not motivated to pay attention in class, and he just kind of daydreams when he's there.
Okay. So you said he's struggling right now. Is that correct?
Yes, he's struggling. He's been in school for about a month now, and I think they've had about 16 or 17 assignments, graded assignments, and on 14 of those 16 assignments, on 12 of the 16 assignments, they were F. There's 1 A, 2 C's, a D, and 12 F's on the classroom work.
12 F's out of 14. Okay. And what grade is he in?
He's in the 3rd grade.
3rd grade, public school?
Yep.
He does not have an IEP, correct?
No, he does not.
Okay. Question for you. Okay, so he had 12 poor performances in class. What were the teacher's consequences for him after each of those 12 poor performances? And the reason I'm asking you that question is because all behavior is a function of the consequences that follow. All behavior is a function of the consequences that follow. And since behavior does not stand still, behavior never stands still. It's always getting better, or it's always getting worse. It doesn't stand still. So if he had 12 poor performances, and if the teacher didn't have any consequences in class for those poor performances, then by virtue of doing nothing about the initial 1, 2, 3 poor performances, the teacher motivated him to continue to perform poorly, because the best predictor of future behavior is current behavior. And if nothing was done after the initial poor performances, then that motivated him to continue to perform poorly because he saw nothing was being done about it. So my first question is, what were the in-class consequences, if any? And my second question, what were the at-home consequences from you? Because it seems like his poor performance picked up steam. It began to pick up strength, power, and steam because he was allowed to continue to perform poorly. 12 out of 14 times. So imagine a, boulder rolling down the mountain. It starts off slow, and the more time it gets to roll, the stronger the pull of gravity becomes. Behavior works the same way. So what did we do at school to address it? And what did we do at home to address the poor performances?
Well, at school, I'm not sure what she's done because his classroom work folder just came home on Friday. So she sends the work home once every 2 weeks. So on Friday was the first day that I knew that he was performing poorly. She didn't let me know before then.
Okay.
So what I did when he's involved in all kinds of extracurricular activities, so I haven't made a decision if I'm going to stop those so that we can do more focus on getting them on track.
Okay.
But I don't know what the teacher's response was. But my response is, okay, let's stop the football. Let's stop the boxing. Let's stop the basketball. Let's stay home 4 days out of the week instead of doing something extracurricular. And let's spend more time on this math work. Let's spend more time on the spelling words, more than what I'm already doing.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think you need to have a conversation with the teacher about a daily report. A daily report. Not finding out that your son was doing poorly in class until after 2 weeks of poor performances, because 12 out of 14, that's 2 weeks and 2 days. And then you find out. So I have a problem with the fact that it took the teacher more than 2 weeks to inform you of your son's poor performance. So you need to have a conversation with her or him, and you need to demand a daily report. Whether he or she texts you, whether they email you, whether they send something home that is written with your son, you need a way to ascertain performance on a daily basis. 2 weeks is not going to cut it. If the teacher has a problem with that, then you need to speak with the vice principal or the principal about it. So that's number one. Number two, for him to be doing poorly in the 3rd grade tells me he's either unmotivated or he's distracted with some personal issues. So either he has no discipline, okay, or motivation, or there's something else going on in his life that's taking his attention away from studying. You know, school for many of our children is often the only place they can go and think in peace. You know, if there's a turbulent home life environment, not saying that's the case with you, but if that's not the case, then we're dealing with an unmotivated, undisciplined child, in which case you're going to have to provide the discipline, and you do that, or provide the motivation rather, with consistent discipline. Okay, and so what that means is it's time for you to put your discipline program in play. Because he's a 3rd grader, I recommend that you get a calendar, a dry erase calendar. If you prefer, you could just do a regular throwaway calendar. And every day he comes home from school and you get his daily report, y'all review it. If he had a good day, you put a smiley face. If he had a bad day, you put a sad face. And you establish a weekly goal for your son, a weekly goal. So if he's only been successful right now, 2 days out of 5, then the goal might be 3 days out of 5 in order for this to be considered a successful week. And if he is successful, if he has a successful week, then there would be some sort of non-monetary, non-expensive reward for him at the end of the week that you would determine. Every day he comes home and he's not successful, there is a consequence that same day. So Monday, if he did a good job, smiley face, but no reward. Tuesday, if he did poorly, sad face, and there must be a consequence that day. Early bed, time out, extra chores, you name it. Okay, Wednesday, he did okay, smiley face, but no reward. Thursday, he did poorly, sad face, and there's a consequence. Friday, he did good, so guess what? He got 3 days out of 5. He had a successful week. So over the weekend, there will be some sort of reward in store for him for meeting his weekly goal. But every day that he does not have a successful day, you must give him a consequence. So in essence, you can be punished during the week and still get your reward at the end of the week. And the reason we only reward at the end of the week is because you have to earn your rewards. And you don't earn a reward because you had a good day. You don't reward a kid just because they had one good day. He has to string together several of those good days before you reward him. But because we're trying to eliminate misbehavior or non-productive behavior, whenever he has a bad day, he must be punished that same day. Punishments come the same day that the misbehavior occurred. Rewards come at the end of the week if he strung together enough good days based on your weekly goal to earn that reward. Never use money, never use expensive gifts. He's only in 3rd grade, so the reward should take the form of some sort of pleasurable activity that he does with his parents. Now, you're going to have to be consistent with this. You're going to have to be consistent with this, because if you're not consistent, you won't be able to change your son's behavior. Nothing motivates a kid like a good reward and a strong punishment. The punishments you use must be relevant to your son. So you can't just come up with anything. Your punishments have to be based on what he likes. Okay, and that's how you determine what the punishments will be. Same thing with the rewards. They must be based upon what he likes in order to be effective, because if the punishments and consequences don't matter, neither will your discipline system. Okay, you got to get on him, and you got to get on him hard. He's an African-American boy growing up in one of the most racist countries in world history, the United States of America. And because of that, he has to have the discipline necessary in order to make it. I'm actually kind of shocked that he's doing so poorly in third grade, because normally from kindergarten through third grade, children are naturally motivated to do well. They're naturally motivated to do well. And the fact that he's having poor performances, something is going on. So again, I think it's motivation and discipline. It could be personal and family. Go ahead.
It's the motivation. That's what everything, since first grade, all of his teachers have said the same thing. And they've all said that it's the motivation. He's just not motivated to do the work. And I am very disciplined with him. Those things that you just gave me, those are all things that I spoke with professionals years ago, and I have implemented those things in his life. And we have rewards, and we have disciplines where we come home and we do work, and I stay on top of him. He doesn't watch TV. He doesn't have video games. I have done everything that I can do to make him disciplined, but it seems like it's his motivation. He just doesn't want to do it.
But remember what I said. Remember what I said. His motivation is a function of consequences and rewards. Everybody on a basic human level is motivated to avoid pain and experience pleasure. Everyone. If you're saying that you've been providing consequences and there's been no change or minimal change in your son's behavior, then your consequences are weak and or your rewards are weak. It's no other way. There's no such thing as a human being who does not respond to relevant consequences and rewards. We all do on a daily basis, whether it's getting a ticket on your car, whether it's getting a ticket for running a stop sign, whether it's getting a raise at the job, whether it's getting written up on the job, whether it's failing a class in college. We are all motivated by consequences and rewards. Everybody. The whole world is based on it. So if he's not improving,
his behavior changes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't want to.
No, go ahead.
His behavior changes, but it's short-lived. It's not long-term change. He'll change, and he'll be on top of it for a few weeks, and then it's like a roller coaster.
And let me tell you why it's a roller coaster. Let me tell you why it's likely to be a roller coaster. The reason why your son's behavior will change for a little bit and then go back is because we haven't been consistent. We haven't been consistent enough with the consequences that the new behavior becomes a permanent part of his personality. In other words, what you want to see from your son has not yet become a habit. And the main reason why it has not yet become a habit is because we haven't been consistent with the discipline. So, for example, if my daughter misbehaves, I give her a consequence. That consequence, if it's relevant, is going to have an immediate effect on her. But guess what? If after a couple of days or weeks, the power of that consequence is going to wear off. That's normal. Of course he's going to go back to doing what he's doing unless we keep up the consequences. And then when you keep up the consequences, assuming that they are relevant, after a while, over time, they become a habit. Now, it only takes 3 weeks to form a new habit. Technically speaking, 3 weeks of consistent consequence and reward, a child's behavior should begin to change. Now, in your son's case, if his laziness or lack of motivation, lack of discipline has been going on for a while, let's say this goes back to last school year. Let's just say that. If he's been on this unmotivated streak for a while, then it's going to take you longer than 3 weeks to change his behavior. Why? Because the unmotivated behavior is a habit, and bad habits can be hard to break. So the longer he's been allowed to get away with this, the longer it's going to take us to break him out of it. So, of course, it gets better and then it gets worse because all rewards and punishments lose power over time. All of them do. For you, for me, for our pets, for our children, for any human, for any living organism, because all living organisms respond to reward and punishment. You know, it's just like a plant. You give it sunlight, it's going to grow. You take the sunlight away, it's going to wither. That's just how human organisms respond. Anything living will respond to reward and punishment. And so, you know, I think the issue is probably consistency on your part. And I'm saying that because in my experience, and I've been doing this for 20 years, 17 as a certified school psychologist, and then 3 as a student of school psychology. Okay, and then another 8 years as a doctoral student of school psychology. But anyhow, in my experience with mothers, y'all tend not to be consistent. Your loving nature, the loving nature of mothers often takes precedent over the need to discipline. And I would argue that that's part of the reason why God gave every child 2 parents, a mother and a father, because the mother is there to nurture and the father is there to structure. The mother is there to nurture and the father is there to structure. Speaking of the father, where is his biological father?
He stays a lot of times with his father, but the roles are reversed. If he's the nurturer, he's the one that kind of lets him get away with a lot of stuff, and I'm fighting for the structure.
Well, it sounds like you and the father need to have a conversation on discipline. How often does he see his biological father?
He sees him about 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay, so he sees him fairly regularly. The father, you and the father need to get on the same page about what needs to happen. And y'all need to come to terms, if you can, on a consistent...
I have tried that. At what point? So I have tried that. And it is a source of stress for me for the past 8 years, to tell him what I want for my child. And we just see things differently. We don't see eye to eye because we had him young. So I didn't think about these things beforehand, but now that he's here and I've been researching and learning about myself and learning things about how to raise a child, my mindset has shifted, but his father has not.
Okay.
So
in which case... Well, let me say this.
Get him on the same page.
Well, let me say this, and then I'm going to go ahead and take another call, but we can always speak again later. It would be beautiful if you would have the support of the dad. If you don't have the support of the dad, you can still do this on your own. So he's not required to be a part of it, but it would be great if he were a part of it. So since you don't have the buy-in from the dad, you're going to have to be that much more consistent. Because you're not getting the support. You're going to have to be that much more consistent. The good news is you just found out about it. That's the good news. Because if you knew about it the whole time and we let this go 12 out of 14, then obviously I would be concerned about how you respond to your son. But because you just found out and it's the start of the new year, we're in a good place. Because you can do crackdown immediately. Crackdown begins tomorrow. And if I were you, I would have a conversation with my son today. Sometime today, it's Sunday, I would have a conversation and let him know what's going to be expected from him and of him at school beginning tomorrow. Son, you're expected to have 3 good days out of 4. Okay? 3 good days out of 5. When you don't, when you come home, there's going to be a consequence for you. When you do, at the end of the week, you give me my 3. You and mommy going to go out. We're going to do something fun together. Okay? And I would go ahead and get my calendar. The reason you need the calendar is because children don't do a good job self-monitoring. Children don't do a good job self-monitoring. They can't, like you and I, we can self-monitor. You know how well you did last week at work. You know how well you did the whole month. You know how well you did last year. Children aren't able to self-monitor. An 8-year-old is not that efficient at monitoring and remembering their performances over time. So the calendar helps them do that. He can look at the calendar and see, I had a good day Monday. I didn't have a good day Tuesday. I had a good day Wednesday. I didn't have a good day Thursday. So I'm 2 for 2. Mommy said I need to be 3 for 5. So Friday is the last day of school. If I don't do good on Friday, I failed for the week. That means my weekend is not going to be the way I want it to be. If I have a good day Friday, then that's 3 out of 5. I've met my goal, and then I'll probably have a good weekend. So get that calendar and get consistent with your son. That's what's going to change this. Because if we don't, and he continues to struggle, you know what's going to happen. They're going to come to you requesting a psychoeducational evaluation for learning disability determination for special ed placement. We don't want no 3rd grader in special ed for being lazy. And let me be clear, most black kids in special ed do not have learning disabilities. They are in there for lazy disabilities. I'm going to say it again. Most black kids in special ed are not there for learning disabilities. They are there for lazy disabilities. And we don't want your son to be the latest casualty in the special ed war against black boys.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Well, thank you.
No problem.
All of this. I appreciate it.
No problem.
I'll see you in January.
Yes, ma'am. You'll see me in January, the 18th, Chattanooga, Tennessee. It'll only be my 2nd time to Chattanooga. I was there 4 years ago for Dr. King Day, and it was jam-packed, and I'm looking to coming back again.
Really?
So see you then, sis, and keep me posted. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Before I take the next question, I want to give out the phone number again, 857-232-0158. 857-232-0158. 857-232-0158. And the access code is 870-864-POUND. 870-864-POUND. Is there another question on the call this morning? Is there another question on the call this morning?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from, my brother?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C.
How you doing this morning?
Good morning. Go right ahead with your question.
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she's in kindergarten. She's been in D.C. They start kindergarten, school early, so you go preschool at 3. So she's been going to school, but and I'm trying to teach her the basics of how to sound out a letter, phonics basically. And her school they're trying to teach her to remember the word, opposed to how to sound it out and read the word. So I guess we're trying to figure out the best way to have her, to teach her, phonics and to remember, learn how to read, basically.
A lot of schools now have moved away from phonics to whole language, which basically means remembering the whole word as opposed to sounding it out. The reason they've made that move is because teaching phonics is labor intensive. It requires effort. Phonics is arduous. It takes work. It takes effort. It's the best way to teach reading. But because it takes so much work, and public school does not exist for the best interests of black children, it exists for the teachers that teach them. And so they've moved the whole language. But the good news is you can teach phonics at home. I would go to, any bookstore. I say Barnes and Nobles only because they're the only major chain left now. And unfortunately, a lot of black bookstores don't carry academic materials and instructional materials, but there are some. There's a black bookstore out of Baltimore, Everyone's Place. They're online, and I'm sure there's a few other black bookstores that actually carry instructional material for young children. But, you know, Barnes & Noble, for sure, you could go and get you some instructional material for your daughter. You know, a simple box of the cards, the letter cards, the A through Z. You know, hold up that A, give her every sound, the A, the I, the A. Hold up the B, give her every sound, the B, the B, the ba. Have her, you know, give you the sounds when you lift up the card. What sounds did this make? You know, B, ba, ba. Then you put the A with the B next to it. Sound this out. B in the I. What sound is it? Ba, ah, ba, ah, you know. And that's how you can teach her how to read, by mastering the phonics, the sounds, the 3 basic sounds of every letter, and then you put the letters together the same way we were taught it in school. You know, make it fun. The key to teaching young children is to make it fun and interactive. You know, as long as it's fun and interactive, you know, they will definitely learn. So that's what I would do. I would go get them box of cards, and it only take you 30 minutes a day. That's all you got to give her. 30 minutes a day from now until New Year's Day, and your daughter should be able to read 4 and 5 letter words. 30 minutes a day.
Okay. And I guess one other question, because I guess we do try to work on it at home, but sometimes, like, if there's like a letter, maybe like she'll maybe get like an M and a W confused just because of the way it looks, and like, or maybe the sound like of the S and the C, she'll confuse that sometimes. Okay. In the word. So I guess my question is, like, because she'll also like kind of break down sometimes. Like, she'll get frustrated and upset, and she doesn't want to work on it anymore. And I try to still make it fun, but even if it's something like she doesn't know, she'll get kind of frustrated with it. Like, she'll like I don't know it. And so I guess what kind of things can I do to combat that? Or, you know,
well,
not
when
me get frustrated myself, but
I mean, some children can work through their frustration. Other children can't. So if she can work through her frustration, you know, then I would just give her some positive talk, some positive feedback. Go back to something she's successful at. Go back to something she's successful at and work back up to the difficult. So you want to build momentum. Whenever they frustrate, go back to a point where you know they know this, to build up that positive energy, and then come back, you know, to the difficult item. But all the frustration means is that she hasn't mastered that phoneme. She hasn't mastered that letter. She hasn't mastered that letter sound combination. That's all the frustration means, is I ain't mastered this. So we just got to work on it. Repetition. Nothing can resist repetition, you know. So I would just keep on working with her, you know, just them 30 minutes. You probably got to spend special time on the difficult areas, you know, spend special time. So maybe, you know, a couple 30-minute, maybe one of your 30-minute periods a week is spent purely on that particular difficult item. You know, give the difficult items their own attention. You know, give the difficult ones their own attention. But it only means she hasn't mastered it. That's all it means. And if we stay repetitive with it, and maybe considering the way we're teaching it, maybe think about coming at it a different angle or a different way, she should be able to grab it without a problem. But it's just practice. Most of this comes down to repetition and practice. It's like a kid who say, you know, I keep struggling in algebra. You know, you got a freshman in high school. I'm struggling. Yeah, you're struggling because you ain't spending enough time practicing it and working with the formulas. Of course you're struggling. If you know, whoa, mute your phone, please. Mute your phone. You know, of course, if the only time you see this is in class and on a test, you're going to struggle. See, struggling for most of our children simply means I haven't practiced and I'm expecting to do well anyway without practicing. That's all struggle is. When I hear parents say, my kid is struggling with it, you know why? Because they're not spending enough time with it. That's why they're struggling. So all you have to do is just keep at it and you will be fine. You know, there's also, when you go to the bookstore, you know, there's also different workbooks that you can get to give you some strategies and techniques to work with her too. So it may be you needing to come at it from another angle. But she's an intelligent kid, you know, just repetition, you going back and modeling for her how to say this and how to do this, and she should be able to get it.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No
I
problem.
appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes.
Good morning, sister. Where are you calling from?
Good morning. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. I'll be in Atlanta in December. I'll be speaking at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. I think it's the 22nd or 23rd.
On Ralph David Abernathy, right?
Yes, ma'am. On Ralph David Abernathy. I'll be there in December. In fact, let me see something. I think I got the date on my phone. Yeah, so let's see. So I'm in Yonkers, New York, September the 28th. I have my course of African philosophy, October 6th. I'm in CEMOTAP in Queens for the 31st anniversary of CEMOTAP, October 20. Birmingham, England, October 27. London, England, November 3rd. Wilmington, North Carolina, November 10. Nat Turner Land, Virginia, November the 11th. Course of African philosophy, November 17th. I'm in the Gambia in Africa, November 21st to the 27th. Course of African philosophy, December the 1st. And then I'm in Jamaica, New York, Queens again, December the 2nd. Detroit, Maine Public Library, December the 8th. Belleville, Virginia, December 20. Atlanta, Georgia, December the 22nd. So that's 12/22. I'm not sure what day of the week that is, but it's 12/22. And then I'm in Detroit, 12/29. Dallas, Texas, December the 30th. And then New Year's Eve in Brooklyn, New York. I'll be bringing in the new year in Brooklyn, December the 31st.
Let me start off by saying something to you. And I want to say, first of all, thank you. And I have a lot of respect for you. Not only as you being a black man, but you being a wonderful example for black men and a teacher. And I'm in a situation now where I am a single mother. I'm 38 years old with a 4-year-old son. And I just lost my mom last year. And I've been with my dad most of my life. And he's in a nursing home and he's not doing too well. And now it's just me and my 4-year-old son. And he's phenomenal. But because of all the stress that I'm going through dealing with, so many things going on, that are beyond my control. I started him in pre-K, but I'm feeling a little bad because I feel like I can't give him the time that he needs. And, I don't know how to balance this situation because, I'm grieving right now. I'm going through my own stress and problems, but, I know he needs me, and of course, I don't want to take out anything on him that I'm going through. So, I even realized I had to find another way to discipline him, which was by, doing time out, because whipping him stopped working. And time out seems to be better for him. But I'm finding myself, so tired and, just dealing with so much. I got him in speech therapy. I'm trying to really help him because as a black woman, I can only teach him how to be a respectable citizen. I can't teach him how to be a man. And, I want to give him what he needs, but I'm scared that I'm not giving him enough.
Okay. His biological father, is he involved?
Well, this is the deal with that. Very intelligent man, but he's narcissistic. So it's one of those situations where he's at home with a black mom that basically has let him lay up in her house instead of take care of his responsibilities. But he's not a bad father. He's just a bad provider. He like I say, he's just one of those type of people because I don't want to be with him, I'm just going to put it to the side. And the funny thing about it is that, I gave my son his name, so my son is a fourth. I believe in carrying everything on, and I believe, I chose him. My son didn't. So even though he doesn't do right, I make it a point not to speak down about him to my son. And if he wants to come visit, I let him come here to my home. And so I'm a very open mother, and it hurts me because, I'm not one of those moms like, I'll put you on child support, or, I'm angry and I'm bitter. I'm disappointed, but I chose him, so I accept that responsibility.
Mm-hmm. As far as your son, how involved is he with him? I understand he's not providing well, but in terms of being there to nurture and raise him, how much support is he giving you in that area?
Well, he moved back to North Carolina, so he's not here in the same state. And, like I say, it's one of those situations. If I wanted him fully in my son's life, I would have to have him fully in mine. And that's just not going to happen. Okay. And, because I'm not going to take care of no grown man.
Right.
And, it's one of those situations where, most of my childhood, I was raised by my father, so I have a lot of understanding and respect for a black man because my dad has always been a provider. So, watching, somebody that I've always saw as strong. My dad is a Vietnam veteran. He did 3 tours. He retired with Greyhound Bus Lines, a diesel mechanic. Like, my dad has always been a strong man. And seeing him succumb to kidney failure, dementia, Parkinson's disease, people don't understand. It's killing me.
Yes.
Because I've always seen him as a strong man, and I'm one of those type of women. My dad has always been in my life, even after my parents got divorced. So it's even harder for me because I feel like I let my son down.
Let me ask you this. One, how old is your son?
He's 4.
Okay, he's 4. I think you're being too hard on yourself, Queen. I really do. Because with him still being so young, not even in kindergarten yet, I think that you may be too critical of yourself because there's no evidence yet, that you've done a bad job, not at all. But here's my bigger question. You lost your mom. That's heavy. I lost my grandma April 30th. That's not a mom, it's a grandmom. I still have my mom, but I can only begin, to understand, not fully understand, but only begin to understand what that must be like. And now your father's, struggling. My other grandmother is currently in the hospital now. So again, I can only begin because it's not the same as losing a parent. But when I look at that, that's heavy. Lose one parent and then the parent that raised you struggling. Now you've always seen him as a strong man and now you see him vulnerable. One thing I see in black women, a lot of black women populations, is this victimization by your own strength. And what I mean by that is black women often, not even knowing it, self-punish, don't get the support and aid that they need because of this need to always be strong, even when they need support. Black women are the only women I know who, feel weak when reaching out or feel, that they're being less than their best, when they call on someone else to lean on. And I guess my question for you, do you trust him enough? And do you feel you're at the point where your son may need to go and spend a few weeks or months with his father and grandmother? Do you think that's necessary, or is it necessary but you don't trust it?
Well, it's like this. Like, they're great. Like, he's not a bad father.
Okay.
When he's around him and everything, he's very good.
Okay.
And we're very, we get along. The problem we have is that he is narcissistic and he wants to do what he wants to do. See, his dad died when he was young, so his mom
just basically let him get away with murder, and she's always been the one to clean up his messes. So, you know, he's college educated, not a dumb guy at all. Right. Very smart, you know, but he's into this point where it's all about him. And this is the thing. I realized that it was a lot on me, so I put myself in therapy. You know, so I'm currently in therapy. You know, I'm trying to, right, because I know this is a lot. And, you know, I plan on trying to let him go for about a week, which is fine. You know, I have no problem with him going to North Carolina. It's just the thing that, you know, my son's father hurts me so much because he knows what's going on. My dad almost died on me 3 times. I had to fight, and I still had to end up putting him in a nursing home. I was pregnant doing CPR on my father. So, heavy. You know, he knows all of this, and he knows it's just me and his son. He knows what I'm going through, and it you know, again, it bothers me because even my mom was good to him. I was good to him, and I get angry at myself because I've never been the type of woman to allow a man to do anything. And what I saw was, even right now, and this is what's happening because of my grief and my vulnerability, I've seen men try to take advantage of that. I've seen, you know, men have tried to come into my life and say, oh, you know, I'll help you and I'll do. And it's not even about financial. I'm financially stable. But, you know, they'll come in and act like, oh, you know, I'm here for you emotionally and all of that. And then before I know it, they're trying to control me or they're trying to use me or, you know, and I'm 38 years old. Like, I played them games. I'm too young to settle, but too old for games. And, you know, I'm seeing a rift even in this whole dating scene, even in this whole trying to be with somebody. And it's crazy because as black women, a lot of times, you know, I think we have to fight so much because people run with our love. They run with our kindness. They run with our vulnerability. And then we look up, we're with another dude, and it's like a different person with the same, the same person with a different face. And seeing that I'm a black woman that has her own money, her own things, the first thing a guy, because of the way that I look, the way that I carry myself, first thing, oh, you're high maintenance. You gotta have different dudes. And I'm just like, wow, y'all say y'all want a woman who's self-sufficient, but you sit up here and then you turn around on the same breath when you meet me and you see that I'm intelligent and I'm not trying to put the black man down because I was raised by my father and I understand that and you know, even as a man, I have a respect for you. And the first thing a guy will do is say, you know, basically, I got somebody, or they'll try to move in on me, but it's always like, wow, you know, here I am, a good woman, everything together, very smart, one child, you know, I know where I'm going in life, moving forward, and it's like, even with the dating, I can't date. Like, I'm too, you know, and I hate to say that like that, I don't think I'm all that, but I think attractive women like myself, we have such a problem finding a man. Because the first thing that goes through a man's head, you can't be single. I don't get it. I don't understand why you're single. I'm like, really? You know, I can't be single. I can't like to cook and have a good time and have my own money and be single and be, you know, it's like they're scared of me.
Well, I'll say this on that topic. When a woman was raised by the father, or if the father was present and it was a strong, positive relationship, there is a confidence and a self-assuredness there. So I want to contrast the woman who was raised with dad or by dad. I want to contrast that with the woman who was not raised by dad, because there's two different prototypes of the strong black woman. One I think is healthy, and I think one is very unhealthy. And the one which you would likely embody had the father there, positive relationship with the dad. They go into a relationship with a certain expectation of manhood because that's what they were raised with, which is appropriate. And to be honest with you, it saves you a lot of time. Like on the one hand, I see your frustration. On the other hand, you have to also see it as a blessing because your self-assuredness and confidence, which comes from having that relationship with your father, will run men away who don't have that confidence or don't want the responsibility that a woman with that type of confidence will require. And as a result of that, you scatter them from your midst, which in my opinion has saved you a lot of trouble. Because had your father not poured into you the way he did, had your father not nurtured you the way that he did, you could have very easily ended up being amongst the thirsty, the ones who will see a situation isn't good and put up with it anyway because they're still craving that masculine validation because they did not have the type of father that you had. So I kind of see it as a blessing. Yes, it may take you more time to find what you're looking for, but it has also saved you from dozens of toxic encounters because when you show up, the confidence automatically projects to the men before you even open your mouth that she's not about games, she's about business. And then when they hear that you were raised by your father and you have such a strong opinion of men, it's like, wow, she's going to expect me to perform at a certain level. And if that man was raised by a single mother who spoiled him rotten, didn't teach him the value of loving and valuing a black woman, you see, then he's going to shy away. So the problem is not necessarily with you. And I'm saying not necessarily because there's always room for improvement with all of us. But the problem may not necessarily be with you. If you're a woman with a healthy view of men and a strong relationship with your father, which is rare in our community, you are swimming in a fishbowl, okay, with men who did not have what you had with their own father. That can be very intimidating. You have a man who didn't have a good relationship with his father and he's dating a woman who was raised by hers. That can be rather